aka Patters. Thank you for joining me. A little bit of a pause there. I'm sick of saying that at the beginning of every single episode, but we got a lot going on. I'll update you. But right here, right now, we're continuing our epic Netflix run. We just did Six Underground with episode 360. You're with me for episode 361. If you like Thor, if you like the name Hemsworth, if you know what Russo brothers means, and you add some Netflix, you got something cool, you got something special. We're talking Extraction. Let's go. Yeah, so the entire landscape of streaming. And thank you for joining me. Thanks for sticking with me through that intro. Let me get this thought out of my head. The entire landscape of streaming is constantly getting turned on its head. It's in a constant state of flux. The industry leaders, now, Netflix is going to lead for a while just because they have the users, they have the people addicted to it. But everyone else, okay, they're still stealing money away from Netflix, even if they're a rising platform. HBO Max rising, Tubi rising, Disney Plus rising, Paramount Plus. Is it Paramount Plus or is it Paramount Peak? That one rising. The point I'm getting at, the only way to win. Here we go. You guys ready? Are you ready for the next giant boom when it comes to content? The only way to win, people, is to make the best movies. It's to make the best documentaries. It's to make the best TV shows. It's to make the best content. 2020, right? Let me double check. This movie came out in 2020. 2020. Okay? I didn't even know this movie was coming. And then all of a sudden, everything became Extraction. It took over the entire sphere. Now, I'll say social media sphere, not news cycle, not blog sphere, but it's a social media sphere because we kind of have to admit when we use that term that the news networks, they're all about clicks. They're all about gut reactions. They're really not doing any job. They're not doing their job. They're not doing any service for us. Right? I mean, we can all relatively admit that. So it just makes it all confusing, and that's really what I'm getting at. That's where I'll leave it. But Extraction took everything over. Chris Hemsworth, our boy Thor, attached to it, definitely it gives you a reason to watch it. It really does. And then we have the other names attached. The Russo brothers. So the Russo brothers effectively have become what you think the Wachowski brothers should have become. The Wachowski brothers went into almost irrelevance through oh my god, it's there it deserves there. I'm a fan and a big fan of just about every single one of their movies. Everything that they've written, produced, and directed. But the way how the public receives the content, the movies, it's like they have to like it forever. I mean, you can't miss more than 2 times when it comes to your access to Hollywood money and talent. So, like the Wachowskis, they do Bound. We know them for The Matrix. And then there was like this epic anticipation for Matrix 2 and 3, Reloaded and Revolutions. And between that, we had this Matrix, this Animatrix, which created a trend that's somewhat still going of doing supplemental genre-driven, geek-driven content around your movie. Like even something like Southland Prophecies, from our boy that did Donnie Darko, had a graphic novel supplementation. We've seen similar things with Animatrix for Terminator Salvation, Van Helsing, Chronicles of Riddick, like Dead Space, right? Video game, like so they kind of created this thing with Animatrix, and the Animatrix, relatively pound for pound, is phenomenal. Next to Robot Carnival, I mean, it's one of the best anime anthologies ever, and it falls in line with everything that the Matrix stood for, like just on a aesthetic level. So, Matrix 2 and 3. No one got amped for Speed Racer. B for Vendetta, which should be the most relevant movie today, largely forgotten. Like, I'm comparing it to where it should be. Ninja Assassin, like, okay, the Jupiter movie, what's it? I'm forgetting the name of that. Right? Sons of Jupiter, Stars of Jupiter. I freaking love that movie. That movie is so nuts. The visuals are crazy. Giant lizard dudes. Like, how do you not love it? So, the Wachowskis have this, like, peak. They peak. I believe they also wrote The Specialist with Stallone and Stone. So, they peak, and then it takes them a long time to get off of the mountain. Not just off of the mountaintop, but just off the mountain. Because, again, for Warner Brothers, something like The Matrix funded like 20 years of work for people. Like, relatively speaking, it did. Exaggerating a little bit there. And then we have the Russos. They come from the world of Game of Thrones. And then they're relatively given a franchise similar to Thor from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Nobody wanted a second Captain America movie. But then we got Winter Soldier. And, like, this is a part of this. Now it looks like Providence when it comes to Kevin Feige, but it's not. Like, I was so confused going into Civil War. Going into Winter Soldier, because, like, they were just skipping from origin to the modern day definition of Captain America. I mean, we're talking the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, okay? All that's gone. We go from origin, Kirby and Simon origin Captain America, to the Ed Brubaker Winter Soldier. So, but the movie worked. It was a revelation almost. Now, this is in a run of disappointing sequels. Iron Man 2, disappointing. Iron Man 3, disappointing. Thor: The Dark World, disappointing. People look back and they like to shine the turd, tell you different things. I'm just saying this is where the movies were when they came out. Now, a lot of those movies I liked. I really did. I love Iron Man 3. I really do. I think it's crazy. So, the Russo brothers go on this run. Historically, I mean, it's probably better than Spielberg, right? Like, when Spielberg kind of gave us his initial run. But here we have Captain America: Winter Soldier. Okay, first they're coming off of the biggest TV show in the history of humankind. Then it's the Winter Soldier. They legitimately revitalize and create a franchise with that movie. It wasn't Captain America. It was Winter Soldier that created Captain America. Then we get Civil War. And then what we get is what I view as the best giant blockbuster of all time, which is Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War, on the sheer idea of what it handles and how it handles it. Now, the caveat for that is you have to know everything happening in that movie before you sit down to watch that movie. It's the only way a lot of it makes sense. But they went for it. They really did. And then some people will argue with me and say, "No, Pete, it's Avengers Endgame. That's the greatest movie." Like, okay, I mean, really, okay, it's one or the other. I'm not crazy for Endgame. I'm really not. So these guys have stroke. They have pull. They have access to talent. They're where the Wachowskis were post Matrix. But these guys are quiet, right? Like they're just so quiet. I guess like they say the personality trait of geniuses or like highly level focused functional people is that you don't hear from them because they pour everything into what they do and they don't have insane social lives. So they're defined by creating security around themselves, long-term relationships, family, and they're defined through their work. I'm the absolute opposite. I try and do it all the time. I'm going to do it all until I run into a brick wall multiple times. So with their stroke, they do this movie with Netflix, and it hits the spectrum. It hits the social media sphere, and you just hear about these action sequences, and so you say you finally sit down to watch this movie, and it's a rich kid in a foreign country gets kidnapped. They hire Hemsworth to track him down. There's other people of interest connected through the family also doing the same thing. Everyone is against each other for a stretch of this movie. Adversaries become allies. Chris Hemsworth and this other phenomenal assassin dude. I should have known his real name, but the dude's phenomenal. And then like the movie ends the way we know it's going to end. They're going to get the kid rescued. They're going to get the kid back to where he's supposed to be, but Hemsworth is going to die. And then along the way, we have this definition. They define Chris Hemsworth's character as a almost like a lost soul. He's tortured. He does what he does. Period. These are tropes, but they're well done, and Hemsworth sells them. And then along the way, we have this director, what's his name? What's this guy's? Sam Hargrave, and he's an actor. He's got previous directing credits. I tried to get some of his most recent films. I couldn't even get them through Wikipedia. It's kind of funny. He is a long running stunt coordinator also. So he's a little bit of like the guys that make John Wick. And then here we go. Like we how much do we spend on Extraction? We spent $65 million. It feels like it's a $300 million movie. A potential franchise, potential sequel, because they do kind of end it on a incredible, awesome cliffhanger that I absolutely love. And then here's your kicker. Here's your freaking kicker. Extraction is based on a comic book that the Russo brothers made. This goes into this idea that they're going all in on their audience because they have a comic book connection. They have the connection with Game of Thrones. They're going all in, and they're very smart. Now, the comic that this is based on, I think it's based on the little boy's name. I think his name's like Cleo or Kia, something like that. But the kid that they're rescuing, I'm pretty sure that's the name of the graphic novel. And I couldn't get any information on that either. Hard to Google. Not much there. It's like 50 or $60 on Amazon. So, and from what I could tell, the art style just seems, typical for that type of book. No fire. Not like me. So But there you go. I mean, two of the better modern day action movies already. Six Underground, Extraction, and guess what? Triple Frontier. That's your trilogy, and that's our next episode, everyone. Episode 362. Get ready for Triple Frontier. Peter A. DeLuca here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Subscribe, support, do everything you can to promote this, because we're trying to build the army. Uzi Susie, that's my mini comic, available right now on Etsy. Trial by Fire, available right now on Indiegogo. Get a free trading card of the Wolf Pack. Join the AKAPAD army for free when you hit akapad.com and sign up. Name and address, and I will send you a free trading card and other merch. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, episode 362, Triple Underground.